Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to, I believe, episode 7 of our show this evening. This live stream's coming to you here from Morganton, North Carolina, and we have, my name is Jim Carr, and we have Shane Cannon up there in Burnsville, North Carolina. He's co-host on our program and on our TV show. If you're tuning in for the first time, this is Thursday Night Outdoors. We try to do this show on an every other Thursday evening. Now, we did miss last week, and I want to apologize, everybody. I know some people were watching us, and we kind of never showed up. But what actually happened, we had a lot of bad storms in the area last Thursday evening, and we have a lot of equipment here in the studio, and it only takes one lightning strike to put us out of business. So, you know, I do this pretty much full time, so I don't think I could stand not being able to do this. But anyhow, that's what happened last week. But we are here this week, and we'll continue to be here just about every other week until we can find a lot more stuff to talk about. Tonight, what we're going to talk about, I've got some different clips. I have me and Shane and Bo, one of our field staff guys, went up to a lake that's it's a little bit, I guess you'd say, southwest of Asheville, and it's really close to Lake Lure up there. Okay, so and the name of the lake is Lake Adger. I think I'm going to pronounce that right. If I'm not, when Shane gets on here, he can correct me. But it's kind of a strange name, but it's Lake Adger. It's not a very big lake. About 3.5 miles long. It's not very wide. A lot of you guys in North Carolina that have been on Lake Roadhiss, you know how wide Lake Roadhiss is. It's probably about 3/4 that size as far as width. It's not a very big lake at all. It winds up through the mountains and in between the mountains up there. But I'm going to tell you, it was a nice trip. We had a lot of fun, the three of us. But guys, I got to tell you, I don't think anybody's got to be any business to be out on the water at 93, 94 degrees like we were. Now, you're going to see me at my worst because I'm going to tell you, we'll probably have the full show come out here in about a week. I'm working on it now, and it'll probably be out in about a week. But it was hot up there, and all three of us were sweating really bad. We tried to stay in the shade because that's the only place we were catching fish. And just to be perfectly honest with you, we just should have never been there. Bo and I have been in circumstances before catfishing and where it was 94, 95 degrees, and we just never should have been on the lake. As it was, you know, if you guys have been on the water before, on the lake, with barely no wind, and the sun beating down with you and the water flat calm, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to, the first video up is going to be about the lake itself. And we're going to show some maps of what the lake actually looks like and try to explain some of the lake to you. And hey, we've got somebody new here, Stacy Gaston. Hey, how you doing, Stacy? Glad to see you joining us here this evening. Stacy is on our Roku channel. He's one of our content providers from Smackdown Catfishing. So if you've never checked his channel out, he does a live stream every week. So check him out. Go on YouTube and check out Smackdown Catfishing. And he has a really good show. He usually has about 4 guests on all the time. And there's a lot of valuable information there. But all right, we're going to show the first map here, and you're welcome, sir. And we will, let me pull it up here. I'm working this on my own, so bear with me, folks. We'll show you the map, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Okay, Shane?
All right, sounds good.
Here we go. Okay, Lake Adger is a small lake in Polk County of North Carolina. It's a whopping 438 acres, and it's approximately 3.5 miles long from the boat ramp all the way to the dam. On the east end of the lake is the boat ramp and the marina. And it's also where the Green River flows into the lake. On the west end of the lake is the dam, and where the Green River continues its course all the way down to the Broad River and then into the Congaree River, which flows into the Santee Cooper Lakes. The lake has 2 nice long coves and a small island. The only drawback to some anglers is that the lake has motor restrictions to a 60 horsepower motor for boats and a 70 horsepower motor for pontoons. Now, looking at a different satellite shot, you will see the boat ramp and the marina where the Green River empties into the lake. When leaving the ramp, stay close to the left side of the lake and follow the markers to stay out of the shallow water. Looking again at another satellite map, you will see that the whole lake and the dam area, along with the nice deep long coves, which makes this an ideal lake for fishing. Okay, we found that the shady areas of the lake that had hardwood brush and downfalls and that had some rocks and sand shoreline were the best areas to get a bite. The sunny areas of the lake, or where the brush was softwood and it was more of a muddy shoreline, the bite wasn't that good that day. All right. It was interesting, and there's a lot of things, I guess, Shane, to explain why the bite wasn't good. I really blame it on the fact that the week that we went, the whole week before, was very hot.
Oh, yeah.
And I really think it shut the fish down. I think the water was like, 86 degrees, I think it was.
Yeah, it was extremely warm.
It was extremely warm. We held our own, folks. We caught fish on and off all day, but we had to do certain things to catch them. We didn't catch any fish in the sunlight at all, and I can understand why. Another thing that we noticed, most of the fish that we caught, now we were bass fishing, all right, that's what we were doing. And the bass that you're going to see we caught weren't monsters. I think Shane and myself caught the 2 biggest ones, but Bo caught probably the most, but I mean, me and Shane caught probably the 2 biggest ones. And the thing we noticed is we were fishing the shade, and if we were fishing in areas where there was more more hardwood downfalls and brush, and where the soil, the structure was more oriented to being rock and sand, we caught fish. If we were fishing in softwood with a muddy bottom, even though we were still in the shade, we weren't catching that many fish at all. I don't know if we even caught a fish in them areas, Shane. I don't know.
Not that I can remember, Jim. I don't know why, but for some reason it seemed like all of the pine laps and stuff.
Right.
Seemed like they were holding any fish at all.
Exactly. Bo was actually making more. Bo was actually making more sense of what was going on than we were. I think Shane and I were just so wrapped up at trying to get a fish in the boat that, Bo was he's the one who brought it up that, we were catching more fish in the sandy, rocky soil than in the muddy clay soil.
Hello, Bo. Good to see you too.
So, bait wise, well, we'll talk about baits a little bit later. We threw everything that we had. From little tiny crankbaits to big crankbaits to everything. And it seemed like during the day, the crankbaits worked the best. Didn't catch anything, I don't think, on a soft plastic, did we?
No, not early, we didn't.
Just, it was all small crankbaits. We used a lot of small crankbaits. If you can see them like that, that's one that Shane likes, is the little ones like them. He likes throwing that little stuff in a lot of these mountain lakes. And they seem to work really good. So anyhow, like I say, we held it together, and as it gets on toward the end of the day, it gets better. And I tried one of my techniques, and it worked, really good. Shane, that lake, let's talk about the lake a little bit, okay? It kind of got off track here a little bit. Let's talk about the lake a little bit. You've been up there a little bit more than I have. You and Alan's been up there quite a bit. How deep is that lake? Maybe, I guess down by the dam, maybe 30, 40 feet?
No, down next to the dam, it's actually 80 or 90 feet deep.
Oh, is it really? Wow.
Yep.
Okay. I never would have thought that.
Now, you got to be real careful where we put in that up there, because as you've seen, I mean, it can get really shallow up there if
Right.
they start generating.
Any of you guys, yeah, right, like Shane was saying now, if you've watched on the map, any of you guys that go up there, you decide you want to go up, please do it. It's a nice lake, beautiful lake.
It is.
It's real windy, okay? It winds like a snake through the mountains. It sits right, I don't know what mountains them are, but it sits right in the mountains up there, right in the valley. It winds and snakes up through there. And any place that there was an opening, you got a cove. Like I showed you, it had a couple of long coves. Now, we didn't go into them coves, but they looked like they were really long coves, and they're probably really good fishing. And but we went from one end of the lake all the way to the other to do what we had, and then back down the backside to catch what we had to catch to get a show. So probably say from 2 miles back to the boat ramp, what are we talking? Maybe 20 feet?
What's that? Where's that now?
The depth.
Yeah, from that first cove there on up, it's real shallow. But now when you get down closer to that island, it's probably more in the 20 to 25 foot range.
Okay. So on the average, unless you're bound by the dam, it's around 20, 25 feet.
Yeah.
So it doesn't drop off very quickly, but it does drop off pretty sharp. It's not like the Mystery Lake that we fished in. It drops off fairly quickly.
Yeah.
But, like I said, it's not a very wide lake. Maybe what? In its widest area, 1,000 yards.
If that.
I'm pushing it at that.
Yeah. Now that far side of the lake is, from what I've seen, by far the deepest until you get all the way down next to the dam.
Okay. Okay.
As you notice, that whole left-hand side down through there seems to just fall off kind of gradual.
Right. It did. It did fall off kind of gradual, didn't it? Okay. Let me go ahead and let's put this other clip up here. And this is one where myself and I think Bo catch a bass. And like I say, they weren't really giant monsters now, folks. No, get rid of that damn thing. What am I throwing that for? Here we go.
Ain't got another lure like him,
If I did, it's going to cost you big time. Yeah, there we go. Finally got us a bass.
I just threw it in there and woke him up. Oh, that's a good fish.
Well, we broke the ice, fellas. There we go. There we go. Not very big. He come out of that boat slip. We've been working really hard to get something like that, everybody, and we finally got one in the boat. Been an awful slow day today, but the temperature's really hot out here today, so there he is. Oh, look at the monster. Well, you finally got one, Bo. Yay. All right. Well, looks like the crankbaits might work. Shane. Your turn, Shane.
Ain't fruit for me. I've been throwing them for a while.
You've been after them muskies.
Yeah. I'll set my sights a little lower now.
Right. Camera's rolling.
Oh, just because we got him hooked. 14 different ways.
He's kind of ill.
He's a fighter now.
Trying to get under that limb.
Oh, you got your caught around that limb.
Yeah, I see him.
No, is he still on?
Yeah.
Oh no. Keep it. He's still on there.
Yeah.
Got to put us in reverse, Shane. Shane's got a bass hung up on a tree. We're going to try to get it out of there. Oh, I think he just come off. No, there he is.
There. All right.
Yeah.
I'd a lot rather use them than I would get a hook in my finger, especially with the plug. Makes it a whole lot easier. double hook. Ain't no monster, but
Yeah.
they decent.
Pretty fish.
Yeah. What'd you catch him on?
I caught that on a Berkeley flicker shad.
Let me see it. Oh yeah. There you go. That's what Shane catches on. We've been switching baits like crazy. Really hot, 92, maybe even 93 degrees. They told us it was going to be 85, so like always, the weatherman don't know what he's talking about. But I got Bo and Shane here's in the boat, and I'm in the back, and we've been switching baits all day long. If you see over here, you can see Shane's fishing poles he's got lined up over there. And that's the kind of a day we've had. We've just been switching baits all day long. We might catch a fish on one bait, catch maybe a couple fish on another bait, and have to switch again. So it's getting late in the afternoon. We're going to keep plugging along and see if we can get a few more fish. Maybe finish this show out. I don't know if you can see my shirt, but I'm sweaty, Bo's sweaty. We're all been sweating out here like crazy. So we're going to enjoy this little bit of cool weather coming in now because the sun's going down. It seems like now that the sun's going down, the bass are biting. So we're going to get back at it. All right. Now we got a little more to talk about. You can see it was really hot. I was not in my best appearance, but, Shane has so far drugged me through some places that I don't know if I want to continue this relationship or not, But anyhow, all right. Now that was a little earlier in the day, and what was using, here it is. I got a whole table full of little goodies here. What I caught my fish on, and I'm going to try to get up here the best I can with the camera, okay, because it's about 4 feet away from me, was that chartreuse and black crankbait, okay? It dives down to about 5.5, 6 feet. It's got some reflective coating on top of it, but it also has a rattle, okay? I don't know if you can hear that rattle, but that's what I caught mine on. Now I think that's the only fish I caught on that bait, Shane. I'm not sure, but I did have some more strikes on it. This bait usually outperforms about anything else I throw. That's why I threw it, and I threw it for a long time, and I happened to throw that up underneath that dock over there, and he come out and grabbed it. So that's I'm fishing this on a luge rod, medium heavy action, the luge reel, and it's a good combination. That is 10-pound test Daiwa fishing line, and it's a pretty good combination. I like it with the crankbaits because the line it's a really thin diameter line, and it lets the crankbaits pull deep. Now Shane was using a shad wrap, right?
Well, I used a glimmer shad quite a bit.
Okay. His was silver. Now this is what one looks like, but Shane had one that was like that with silver, pretty close to it. I don't know where mine's at. I caught a lot of fish on mine, and I think Bo stole it. But anyhow, that's what Shane, pretty close to what you were using, wasn't it? Except yours was silver.
Yeah, I meant to say flicker shad. I don't know why I said
Flicker
glimmer.
shad. Okay. Does he have a rattle, or not?
Seems like they do, Jim. I wouldn't swear to it.
Okay. Well, you caught probably 3 or 4 fish on that.
Yeah, I think Bo actually done better on plugs than me.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry. Let me back up. I'm getting carried away here. Bo was the one who was using that. He was using that.
Trout. Yeah.
All day, as a matter of fact, just about,
Yep.
wasn't it? Every fish Bo caught came off the silver shad wrap.
Yep.
Sorry, Bo. I was just getting a little carried away there. But that's what he caught here. Now, Shane was throwing this little stuff. Now, that's not exactly what he was throwing, but he was throwing some of them little crankbaits like that. He has a whole box full of little different colors. He tried some different worms and stuff. I don't know. What else did you do? Did you try any grubs?
Lord, I throwed a little bit of everything, Jim. I throwed little swim baits
Until I pulled out the secret weapon.
Yeah, that worked good.
But he tried everything. Little swim baits, kind of something like that right there, similar to that. And well, we caught fish, had a lot of strikes, but they just weren't coming in, very hot and heavy.
They
So-
weren't fighting anything that they typically do in that lake, and I don't know why.
No, yeah, they were way off. That what really was. I mean, there was stuff I was throwing there that any other lake, Lake Norman or anything like that, I would have caught fish.
Oh yeah.
But I really think it's the heat. I really do. But let's go ahead and we'll show the last clip we have, and we'll talk about it, because now this is where it gets to where we can show you what we actually caught most of our fish on toward the end of the day when the sun goes down. When the sun went down, that worked really good, and it's my number one go-to bait. So we'll show this clip and we'll be right back.
Ah, come on, Jim. Oh, there he is. Oh, oh no! No, 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 no! Oh, gosh, man. He was there, Shane. Oh, darn. All right, Shane.
Little bass on the right
Li-
banana.
Little bird, yeah. All right. Here, you suck that. How can a bass that little suck that down, Shane? Seems like the bite now, folks, has gone to a floating worm technique. I'll do a little demo here a little bit later and show you what I call a floating worm technique. I've used this for many years. We've got some shows already out there using that technique. Everybody has their own way of doing it. This is the way I do it, and it works really effective for me certain times of the year. And that's what me and Shane doing right now. Oh, mercy, look at that. Aha. Good one, good one. Yeah. Yeah, the sun goes down. Looks like we're going to catch a few.
That's the only thing about these little lures, these little bitty hooks.
Well, it's a little harder to get the hook out of them, isn't it? There you go. Nice, nice one.
Oh, that's pretty fish.
Ring.
Oh no, don't let Bo grab him. Good catch, Shane. All right. Shane ends the trip with a, what, 2.5? Look at the shad in his gut. Look. Folks, we've been out here catching some shad for catfishing, and that bass is plumb full of shad in its stomach. What is that, 3-4 pounder, something like that? Look at that. Hold him like that. Don't put him back yet. Now hold on.
That is a pretty
We need to
fish,
get a
I know
picture
that.
with Shane. All right, hold on.
All right, that was the last one we caught. Now, this was toward the end of the day, probably more like 5 o'clock, somewhere in there, maybe
Yeah, it
4
was getting pretty
o'clock. And it was cooling down. We were both pretty much, or we were all pretty much toast at that time of the evening. And after being out there all day, I mean, we got up there and got out in the water at probably what, 7, 8, something like that. And,
Yeah, it wasn't long after daylight.
yeah, and we were pretty well fried, folks, but hey, you got to love it to be able to go out there and put up with that. But okay,
I'd like to point out too, Jim, that a large majority of
ahead.
the fish we caught was on worms that you actually make.
Say that again.
I said a lot of the fish that we caught were on the worms that you actually make.
Well, yeah, they were. Thank you for bringing that up. We do, if you folks don't know it, we do have a store, an online store, Carolina Outdoor Hunting and Fishing Supply, CarolinaOutdoorStore.com. So there, I got that thrown in. But we do make worms, and we did catch these fish on our soft plastic. Now, Everybody has their own technique on a floating worm. When I started doing this years and years ago, I accidentally hooked up a line and a worm on my rod and didn't put the sinker on there, and I just threw it and decided to fish with it. And all of a sudden I noticed that, wait a minute, I'm catching a lot of fish with this technique. Basically what I have here, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this really good to you with the camera. I'm going to try to get up there, but all I have on here is I come down with this is 8-pound test line on this rod, and it's the reason I use the light line, but it's a very stout line. I come down to a swivel, and that's just I don't know, not even a 1/4 ounce. All right. I've got, this line is short because I broke it off and I just tied it on that day. It's the same exact worm, as a matter of fact, that I was using that day. And I usually like to have about 2.5 to 3 feet of leader, but it works well. The leader is really up to you. Okay. You have to pick it the way you want to fish it. But what I do is how I rig this worm. And like I say, everybody does it different. Is I use, this here happens to be a 2/0 Gamakatsu, what do they call that? It's a offset shank hook. Now I don't know if you can see that or not, folks. I'm sorry. I'll try to do a better demo in the video for you. But what I'll do is as I hook this up the way a lot of you guys do on a shank hook, okay? This is one of our worms we make. This is what we call watermelon line. It's kind of a dirty looking brown with black speckles in it. And it's very, very flimsy. It moves real easy in the water.
Yeah, it's great.
What's that, Shane?
I said it has great action.
Great action. I just put that through like you would if you were rigging up Carolina rig. And actually, this is almost Carolina rig without the darn weight in it. And I pull the hook and I come right back out. And I'll go all the way to the shank. And of course, my line will already be tied on there. And I'll bury that right in there and just pull the head through. Okay, and I try to get everything nice and straight. And however that ends up, not ending up very well, I'll put my worm in here. Okay, and then what I'll do is just take the hook so you can just feel the hook. This one here looks a little bit better. And so you can just barely feel that hook in there. And the worm, when it's done, will look like this. Come on, get through there. I don't like that there. I don't like that bend on the worm. I like it to be straight with the hook. And then you come through and I pull that hook so you can just barely. Now that makes it pretty much 100% weedless. And you can ask Shane, you can ask Bo. I was throwing that right in the thickest brush. You saw that one fish that I caught? The reason I put that on there is because I caught him down deep in between brush, down in a hole. I pulled him up and I didn't really realize my line was over the branch, and there's just no way I was going to pull him over it, but he got off. But anyhow, it was a lot of fun. But the reason I like that is because you can throw that out there and work that across brush, weeds, lily pads, anything you want to. And if you work it correctly and you watch it, you have to pay attention to it. You can see this worm and what it's doing. And when it goes through the water, it'll do all kinds of weird things. I mean, it will, 1 minute it might go like this, another minute it might go like that, it might dive down. Most of the time I only fish this about depends on the water clarity. I like to see it. I like to see that fish, that bass, come up from the deep water and just come up and inhale that thing. That excites me more than catching them, I think. But Shane had it happen to him a bunch.
Oh yeah.
You can use that. Go ahead.
You're just talking about the brush too. That real thick brush is where we actually found 90% of the fish that day.
Yeah, it was. That's where we got them. Yes. the rain, I kind of don't know whether it turned off the fish, but in DC, but yeah, the rain. I tried to find your YouTube page the other day there, and I couldn't find it. I don't know why. It just didn't come up with anything I thought was your page, but I wanted to subscribe to your channel. So if you can maybe message me and send me a link that I can, sometimes I don't follow directions very well there. And this gentleman right here has a cycle shop, and he follows us on the channel and everything. So I just wanted to return the favor. But this will work good, even with these grubs. Like I say, you can throw any color, and I found this color here to be one that really works great. It's not white, it's not black, but it seems like in medium stain water, it works good. Now, when I first started learning this technique, I was throwing a grub like that I rigged up the same way. And I was on Lake Norman, North Carolina. And that's how I started to learn how to throw this, because that tail right there, doing this in the water, would drive the fish absolutely crazy. So next time you're out bass fishing, when this thing hits the water, it's surprising. There's no weight there, but it goes down pretty quick. So it won't take it any time to get down, like if you're fishing over 2 feet of brush to where you want to start popping it. When you jerk it, you just want to take your rod tip. If you watch for the video, I'll do a better demonstration on the video. If you work your rod tip, I just let the thing sink down a little bit, then I'll jerk it, and it'll come up and do different weird things. Then I'll let it sink down a little bit, then I'll jerk it, and it'll come up and do different things. It drives the bass absolutely crazy. I don't like using a weight because I think the weight takes away from the action of the bait. Go ahead, Shane.
Fishing a lot like you would a fluke.
Yes. Yeah, like you would a fluke, exactly. Except I think you got to pay attention to this just a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's funny when the water gets up. Yeah, the fish do act, especially around here. I don't know how it is up your way. I think it's Papillion cycles. I think I pronounced that right. Does that look right, you, Shane?
Yeah, I guess, Jim.
I think I did. When water gets up, fish act really weird. Now, Shane told me that he snuck back to a lake that him and I fished a couple of weeks ago without taking me, and he caught a bunch of fish. Now, we had a lot of flood water here in the past, 2 weeks, 3 weeks from these hurricanes.
About 2.5 weeks.
Matter of fact, Shane's been working, trying to help him clean up there in Tennessee. But the lake that he fished was so full of garbage and crap washing down in the lake that Shane didn't want to really film because he just didn't think it'd make a good film. But I think it would have, Shane, because it would have showed people that no matter what the water condition is, you can still catch fish. But anyway,
yeah, you're right.
Getting back to what you were talking about there, the water level really plays a big part in how fish react. I think they move with the water. If the water gets high, I know down to Santee, if the water gets high in the rivers, they'll move right back up into the trees where normally there's no water for months. The fish will you'll go down there and people will be fishing in the woods, where you could never do that with a boat before. So I think the fish will kind of follow the water, Shane. I mean, I don't know if it's that they're looking for a new food supply.
Well, it gives them new feeding territory.
Well, that, and I guess, when water gets up in them areas, I think what it is, it opens up a whole new place for them to forage and find food.
Yeah.
So, the bite was slow, Bo, and we did have a good time, that's for sure. So when you're back out next time again, just try that bite. Just try that technique. It worked really good. I stand by it a lot. I fish it a lot. If they're not biting on anything else, I'm not going to say it catches fish every time, because it doesn't. There's been times I've gone out there and not caught a darn fish no matter what I've thrown. But water level, temperature, moon phase, I think all plays a very important part on how we catch fish. But it's like the saying goes, you don't know if you don't go. So,
Well, and I never would have thought they'd have hit that light colored worm like they did. That lake is typically known for darker colored baits. But for some
right.
reason, that bait-
Adger Lake is.
yes.
But yeah, because we went up there because one of the guys that fish it up there told us that they're biting on purples and darker color baits.
Yep.
I tried some dark color baits. I even tried a dark color bait on a floating worm and didn't even have a strike. And I fished it for quite a while. And we didn't really get bites until we started putting them on, and then Shane put some on, and that's when him and I was able to finish it up and catch a few fish. And I guess Bo caught one or two, but that's how we actually finished the day out. So, I guess what it adds up to, what the sum of all things are, is don't be afraid to go out fishing and try something that you've never tried before. Just because that worked good today doesn't mean I'm going to go to the lake tomorrow and it's going to work just equally as well, because it might not. It's, I've been through this time after time after time, and where the fish are today, they may not be there tomorrow. And that's you guys out there beating the water, you cat fishermen, you bass fishermen, you crappie fishermen, just as well as I do that they can change in a heartbeat. You can be catching fish to beat the band for an hour, then all of a sudden, and I can't tell you how many times Bo and I have been out fishing where they bite like crazy, and all of a sudden they just shut right off. And we've done that catfishing a lot. Him and I go out dragging for catfish, just catch the fire out of them. And all of a sudden, if you pay attention, you look at the lake, all the shad have stopped popping the water. When you got there was all kinds of bait fish on top of the water, popping the water. But when the shad stop working the top of the water, and if you look at your depth finder, it's like everything starts to settle down back to the bottom and the bite stops. So pay attention to what's going on around you when you're fishing. And like me, it'll help you to learn a lot about what's going on there. I mean, I'm not a professional. I do this all the time, like a lot of you guys do, and I'm learning all the time, and I learn a lot of stuff. I learn stuff from Shane and Bo and everybody, all kinds of tricks. And I think that's what it's all about.
I think if you pay really good attention, you'll learn something every time you go.
I think you're right. Like you and I were too worried and wrapped up with trying to catch fish, trying to boat fish to make a show. And Bo, he's the one who pointed out to us. He says, I don't think we're catching many fish. It seems like we only catch them when we get out of the muddy structure and the sand and the clay structure. We start getting back in the rocks. He says and we didn't catch anything on the rock faces either.
No,
I don't think we did. Remember that big long wall, that long
beautiful place.
Yeah, we didn't catch a fish on that wall. We thought, boy, here it is. We're going to catch them all. We didn't didn't even get a bite.
And it was really surprising too, because you seen when we started out of there how big a schools of shad that there was.
Yeah.
And I just, all of the different plugs we throwed, it looked like it's been turning them up.
I think the bite was turning on really good about the time we were leaving, because as we were going back into the boat ramp, we stopped, and Shane wanted to fish a few places, and he says, wow, look at all the shad. He wanted to stop and catch some shad to go catfishing the next day. And so he threw out a couple of times with nets, and we caught some really nice 3.5 inch shad out there. And that one fish that Shane did catch, he was just solid full of shad. I don't think he could have ate another shad myself. But that lake, I don't know what else to say about it, Shane. I mean, when you fish it, you can't get lost on it. I mean,
no.
Great lake for somebody who wants to go down there kayak fishing. Now, just remember, did I get the boat motor size right?
Yeah, so
60 horsepower. That's the only thing that rot you guys that got bass boats. Now, I don't know if you put your bass boat in and just leave the motor propped up and don't use it, if you can do that, I don't know.
No, they won't even let you come there. with
They
anything.
won't even, so it really rots. You guys get together with a buddy and go up there with a smaller engine, but that's just one of the rules. And I guess it's because of the size of the lake. I don't know if there's any water skiing up there or anything.
Now, on a pontoon boat, you can have up to 75 horse.
Up to 75 horse, okay. And that lake has got crappie, brim. We don't think it's got smallmouth, but it's got largemouth. I'm surprised it don't have smallmouth, but it's got largemouth. We have catfish.
Yeah, it's got catfish, got a few.
Okay, and it's got muskie.
Got huge.
All day long, folks, all day long. The only thing on my mind was I wanted to get a muskie. Every throw, I said, okay, here he comes. Here's the muskie. Here's the muskie. Well, there was no muskie for Jim that day, but maybe the next time I go up. But anyways, I saw a picture. If you go on, you Google Lake Adger, Adger on Google, it will come up with, hello, Alan Boone. How are you tonight? It'll come up with a whole bunch of pictures of the muskies that people have been catching up there. They've actually caught better muskies there than I think they catch in Lake James, Shane.
Yeah. Actually, the state record come out of that lake.
Okay. It did. Okay. There's a question for you, Shane. Do you think with all the flooding we had before you went to there, the pH and dissolved oxygen in the water affected the bite? Very well could have been.
Yeah.
I think he meant when me and Bo went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was before the big flood that we had, but now we had some hard rains the weekend before, and I know the water got up in there. I think actually, if you remember, I think the main upper end of the lake was a little dingy even then, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It's a lot like Lake James. It was dingy up at the upper part of the lake where the water comes in. But as you got down toward the dam, it kind of cleared up. It was surprisingly clear. And you know what? That's something else. As we worked up toward the boat ramp area, the water got dingier. And that may have helped the bite a little bit better too.
It may have.
Yep. I'd love to be a fish just for a day, just to try to figure it out.
I think really right now would be the time to be there where the temperatures drop down. And well, I don't know about where you're at, but here it was in the 70s all day. If we could get 4 or 5 days like that and go back, I'm sure the bite would improve drastically.
Oh yeah, I'm sure the bite would be better because the water's going to cool down a lot, and I think that'll make a big difference. But we'll be back. We'll do another show there, maybe maybe toward the end of the month. We're going to go back really soon. We're going back to Mystery Lake, and we're going to try that again. So I can't wait for that to happen. That's going to be a lot of fun. But we've got some shows we're going to go. I'm going to get Shane to go up to Douglas Lake up there in Tennessee and do some fishing up there. So we've got some really good shows planned here over the next, I would say, probably the next month or two. And then we got deer season coming in. So Shane's got a big old bear up there in the mountain getting into his corn feeder.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
I told him today we may have to go up there and do a show.
You're welcome to them. I don't care much for them.
If we can keep him there, it's one thing to keep them there. They roam quite a bit. So, but has he been getting into corn pretty regularly, or he just showed up?
I hadn't really put up a camera until last weekend, I guess.
Okay.
And last night's when he hit it, but now he's been hitting some of the other feeders too.
He looks to be about a 300-pound bear now. I mean, cameras can be deceiving. He's pretty big. So that would be a makings of a good show. So, but we'll see. Deer season's coming up. We're bound to have some of the guys on here from the deer hunting guys. John Jeffcoat. Make sure you check him out. He's out there right now doing live hunts at his tree stand. And I think he shot one live. I'm not sure, but he did shoot one here back beginning of the week, maybe, or over last week. And I know he was doing live streams. He's doing live streams while he's in the tree stand hunting, and it's really getting a lot of publicity. He's getting a lot of publicity and a lot of people watching him. So it's pretty cool. You don't see many people doing that. So another thing I want to bring up, some of you guys, we had Jeremy Coben from, well, it was Hooked Up at one time, and he's changed the name because people were having trouble finding him. So if you want to look up Jeremy Coben, it's Jeremy Coben Fishing on YouTube. And he'll change the name right across all the platforms. I haven't changed the name on Roku yet. I need to do that. I'm getting ready to do a bunch more uploads on Roku and on the website. So I'll do that and get that changed. But Jeremy, he's out there doing a lot of fishing on his kayak. So we'll get him on here in a few more weeks and we can talk about kayak fishing. That's something I am really looking forward to doing is getting out there in my kayak and do some fishing. I know Bo's got one, and I think Mystery Lake would be a good lake to kayak fish.
It would.
You know, I think it would be. It'd be a lot of fun hooking onto some of them big catfish, but we'll have to try it and see. But well, that's all I got for this evening. Shane, you got anything? Anybody got any questions? Now's the time. You got anything, Shane, going on? I want to thank Outdoor Pro Gear for some of the equipment that we're getting here. We're going to do an open box and a product review here, probably this coming week on this headlamp. These things, guys, you want a good headlamp for deer season? Go to outdoorprogear.net and pick you up one of these. This is not cheap stuff. It's aluminum. I guess it's probably all machined aluminum. Excuse me. And these things are bright. Maybe Shane, you could pass them pictures to. I don't know if you did them pictures to me that Bo took about when we were doing the boat up that night up on Adger.
Yeah, I'll make sense.
And I'll post them. People can see how bright they were. But we've got the fish grippers and pliers and things like that they've sponsored to us, and it's a really good product. They're a really good company. So check them out at outdoorprogear.net. And
you can also find them on Facebook or Amazon.
Yeah, they have a Facebook page. And believe it or not, for what these are, you're not going to pay any more money for this than you would from some of these cheaper plastic ones at the box store. I think I said that right. To not get in any trouble. You got to be so correct these days to what you say. You got to be careful. But anyways, all right, guys. Well, that's all I got for tonight. Shane, anything?
I'm pretty sure you mentioned it before, but just like to point out that at Lake Adger, where you was talking about, if you do decide to go there, it is a private owned lake, but since it's a power plant lake, they have to allow public access.
It is a private lake. Okay.
Yeah. Just make sure you read up on it and everything before you go, because they are pretty strict on a lot of it.
Yeah, they are. And it's probably why it's good fishing, because a lot of guys, you can't do what they want to do, so they don't go.
Yeah. Well, and it keeps a lot of the bigger bass boats out of there, so it really don't get the fishing pressure that most lakes
pressure. Exactly. Are there jet skis allowed up there?
I've never seen one.
Really? Maybe there's not. Oh boy, that's good. But anyhow, my own personal opinion. But all right. Well, listen, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Watch for the upcoming video. It'll be out this weekend, I promise. We'll get it out this weekend, and we'll do a product review here, and that video will be a whole lot better than you'll be able to see stuff. I'm going to pull some clips of the floating worm and how it actually looks in the water, and you can see the action it has. Unless you see the action, some guys are like, I use a floating worm, but I don't do it like that. Well, that's what we're here for, to learn different techniques. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in on this evening's Thursday Night Outdoors. Once again, we'll be back in about a week and a half. I would like to do something a little sooner, but we'll just see what happens. It's cooling down out. We're going to start fish a whole lot more outside
Yeah.
really soon. Now that it's cooling down, we don't have to deal with that hot weather, and the fish is going to be picking up. So
Yeah, the crappie should start picking up pretty good here pretty soon.
yeah, and I want to go up there, and I want to do it on either or lake, and I want to do a crappie fish trolling for crappies with little crankbaits. That's one of your passions. That's one of the things you want to do. Little crankbaits and planer boards.
That'd be
Okay,
awesome.
I got just the right planer boards just for the job. So, and we'll go up there and we'll try that and make a show out of that. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in on this evening's Thursday Night Outdoors. I appreciate everybody who commented, and I appreciate all you guys that did tune in. If you missed this show, make sure you watch the after show. It'll be up. It'll be up here as soon as I stop talking and shut the broadcast off. So, and then you can watch it over. So everybody have a good week. Have a good work week. Be safe out there. We got a lot of floods and a lot of hurricanes. I'm Jim Carr from Carolina Outdoor Adventures TV. For Shane Cannon and Bo Winkler out there somewhere, we'll catch you next week, the week after next, when we do it all again. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thanks, guys.